Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Canola Producers Commission, SAS Canola, and Manitoba Canola Growers.
Joining us here on RealAgriculture.com to talk about blackleg-resistant canola varieties, we have Anastasia Kubinec. She's the oilseed specialist with Manitoba Agriculture. Anastasia, we've seen a comeback in the incidence and severity of blackleg, at least here in Manitoba.
Yeah, through our disease survey that we've kind of been participating with Ag Canada since 2009, we have seen a dramatic increase in blackleg. We were at about 55% of the fields where we saw blackleg in 2009, and we're moving up to 71 to 93% of the fields where we're seeing blackleg in 2014. So that's a huge jump. In combination with that, we're seeing mean incidence, so that's how many plants are actually infected in the farmer's field, moved from about 4% in 2009 up to 24% when we're talking about basal cankers in 2014. So to us at Manitoba Agriculture, and then to some of our colleagues, that means that yes, definitely blackleg is becoming worse in Manitoba. It's becoming more widespread, and we're seeing more plants in fields actually infected with blackleg. And the reason that's bad is blackleg, especially at the basal canker, does restrict the stem, and therefore not as much nutrients and water can move up through the plant, so you're probably getting less pods or smaller seeds, and probably yield potential.
So how big a part of this is due to breakdown in resistance?
Well, we have seen a number of new avirulence groups that are showing up in the field, a combination of more canola acres being grown, and with the tighter canola rotations that some farmers are using, that does provide the pathogen the opportunity to have recombination in the field, and therefore we're getting all these new different races in the field. So that, yeah, definitely is contributing to some of our issues, because the traits or the genes that are in the canola varieties are susceptible to those races that are in the field.
So should growers, or how can growers manage for this? Should they be taking into account the source of resistance for different varieties?
Yeah, the newer varieties tend to have better resistance. There is some new genes that the companies are putting in there. None of the genes, or specifically in those varieties, have been published. But then again, farmers don't actually know what typically is in their field as well. So if they find that growing their tried and true canola variety, all of a sudden they are seeing increased blackleg, then they should maybe switching to a newer variety, or maybe with a different company, hoping that they do have better or their genes in there that are provide resistance to the avirulence groups that they do have in the field. Another option, which we highly recommend too, is to actually increase their crop rotation. So instead of going canola, wheat, canola, they are putting in a third crop in there, or maybe even fourth crops. They're lengthening it out to a 1 and 3 year crop rotation, or a 1 and 4 year crop rotation. So then that allows the blackleg that's in the field from that first infected crop to degrade enough, and then there isn't that recombination that is occurring in the field, and those the inoculum levels are going down, so it's not reinfecting that next crop of canola.
Is it safe to say that older varieties tend to see higher incidence and severity when it comes to blackleg resistance?
We have been seeing that in our disease survey, and probably a lot of that is the really big varieties. We get 3 million acres of canola grown in Manitoba in a year, and in 1 million of those acres could be one particular variety. And we have had some excellent varieties in Manitoba, and they've had really long longevity. They've been grown on many fields for probably 5 or 6 years. So if you're constantly using that same variety, there is the opportunity for the avirulence genes in the field to be doing that recombination, to be making sure that there is a susceptible population to that resistant gene, so then you are getting increased blackleg in the field.
So just like any resistance issue, it comes down to rotation, or rotation is a big part of
yeah.
managing it.
Yeah, genetic resistance, great tool, but we definitely can push that if we are growing our varieties too tight in rotation, and then those genes are going to start to break down just because of the pressure that we are putting on them by growing canola in very, very tight rotations.
Do farmers have access to information to even rotate the genetic resistance?
Currently we don't. The University of Manitoba and Dr. Delantha Fernando has been doing quite a bit of work on that to figure out what is actually in the varieties that farmers are putting in the field. He has come up with a differential set of blackleg that they are currently going to be incorporating into the registration trials. So in the very near future we will have that information, we just don't have it right now.
Okay. So you recommend trying a different variety, but you may not actually be any better off?
Yeah, you may not be better off. Really, I would say try and lengthen out your rotation to a 1 and 3. At minimum, 1 and 4 is probably better. And then selecting that new variety as well.